Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. So, I hope you're all having a great Saturday so far. I'm just about to build this bad boy, so in this video we're going to get the chassis built with the hop-ups we've got for it, get all the electrics fitted, and just basically make sure everything's running. But before we do that, a massive thank you to the RC Elf for this donation. Massively appreciated, my friend. Anyway, let's get building. Right, so that's stage one, which is the alloy motor plate in position, 2 screws, and also there's 2 turnbuckle end ball ends gone in with the foam dust protectors on. A little bit of foam to put on the motor plate. Right, that's the next stage done. So all standard per kit apart from this, which is, oops, I've just lost a bearing, which is obviously the slipper clutch. I'll just put this bearing back on. So yeah, slipper clutch just set to the standard setting, but obviously we'll probably have to adjust that as we go. So next stage now is setting these 3 pieces into the gearbox, the chassis. Right, just thought I'd show you it quickly before I grease it up. That's how it works. I can't really spin them because that's lifting slightly because it needs clamping down, but yeah, you get the gist of it. Pretty cool. Very different from anything I've done before with Tamiya. Anyway, so we've got a grease set up next, and then we're covering it up. So let's crack on. So I just thought I'd break off quickly and show you this. So this is the main gearbox cover that goes on. It's only held in at the moment because obviously this cover goes on as well. But you have to cut some sticky foam and stick it in there as like a dust protector. That might not sound that tricky. That's pretty awkward to do, to be honest. Anyway, I've done the best I can with that. Now let's bolt it all down. And that's it all bolted down. And there's a lot of bolts in there. That's 2 sections, so that's your first one that goes on, and then you got this little cover. And then, as you can see, if I turn, you can see that moving. Feels pretty free. It has tightened up a little since I've bolted those down, but yeah, it's still free. Right, on to the next bit. Right, we've got quite a lot on in that one. So that's the rear shock tower on, ball ends are in. First moment of choice on the kit for the the wing mounts. I've gone for large, but you can get half a size small in the kit. And then there's this mechanism, or this like rear bumper thing. Now this is for your rear anti-square bar, but obviously you don't get that in a kit. That's a hop up. But nevertheless, I've put the little brackets on that clamps it down. Seems a little bit pointless, but I thought instead of losing the bits, we'll clamp it down. So that's done, and I'm guessing these things on either side are for the I think they're body pins, body mounts. I think I've no idea actually how the shell clamps down, so I presume it's just one at either side. Right, so just looking at the manual now, it looks like it's time to fit the motor and get some turnbuckles made up. Right, we've had to stop because now we're on to fitting the motor. I'm going with the Tamiya brushed 10.5 brushless. Why did I say brushed? 10.5 brushless. Now the issue I have is this is the kit spur and pinion. So the kit spur is I've just read it, sorry. So that's a 70 spur, and the pinion in the kit is a 17. So obviously we're not using them because of a slipper clutch. Now looking at the slipper instructions, the spur is a 79 on the slipper. So the only 48 pinion I have, sorry, I'm having got my glasses, is a 25, which does seem a little big. But on the slipper clutch instructions over here, used together with 48 pitch, 16 to 32 pinion gear. So I actually do have, I think, what have I got? I think I've got a 19 or a 17, but I'm gonna go with this 25. Yeah, sod it. I mean, it's within range. It just might be that kind of ratio might be very quick top end and a little bit lazy on acceleration. So it's a suck it and see. So yeah, we'll see how that goes when we run it. Right, unfortunately I've had an absolute mare. The pinion I had wasn't 48. Oh, that is so frustrating. I got it all in, set the motor ratio, the pitch up, and I was just turning it, and I was like, no. So I did have 148, but the thread's gone for the grub screw, and I can't tap it out. And anyway, it was too big, but I just tried it, and it was just that little bit smoother. Visually, it looked like it would do the job. So anyway, I'm going to have to order some pinions. So that meant I've had to completely redo the gearbox, take the slipper clutch out and put the kit spur in, which I've just made up. I've not greased it yet, and then obviously that sits in like that. Oh, that's crap, but at least I can get it running, but it is all going to be standard now without the slipper. Ah dear, so that means we'll be using the kit, I think it's a 17. Yes, so the kit comes with a 17 pinion. So yeah, let's get it all bolted back together. Oh dear. Right, we're back where we were, but with standard gearing now. God, what an idiot. Got to be very careful about those pinion pitches. So yeah, that's in, it's greased up. And I've just, next stage we're just to snap those, where's that one gone? Turnbuckles on the back. So that's that section finished, and looking at the instructions, we're now moving on to stage 6, which is to build the rear diff, ball diff. Oh joy, we love ball diffs. Right, so that's the rear ball diff built, and these two, I guess they're exhausts, bolted down onto the back. So Tamiya did a really good video the other day on how to build these ball diffs correctly. Because these are limited slip ball diffs. So I've tightened this up to what I think's correct. So the diff itself feels really good, and if I just bear with me, it's pretty difficult to do this on camera, I think. So if I can hold them, yeah, doing this around the camera is stupid. Right, if I can hold that, so that holds those cups in place, and then you can get to feel how tight I've got it. So I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on, and it's just starting to slip. So I believe that's the correct setting, but we're not going to run it without a slipper clutch for long. The pinion's on order now. So I think the next stage now is to grease the diff up and put that in the car. So yeah, diff's gone in there, and then this plate goes on with 4, 6, 8 bolts, and at the same time there's also this little cover goes on. So it's pretty good as I'm building it now, because I'm starting to see how it goes together. So to get into the diff, it's this section off, so you can do whatever you got to do. 2 bolts here, take this little plate out, so you can, for changing pinions or resetting your mesh, whatever. So it's all pretty accessible in there, which I like, because when you see it all built up and it's all black plastic, you try to figure out what goes where. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Right, let's crack on. Rear arms are on. Just locate on rods and then plastic ball ends. And then there's this bracket here sits on, and then this like rear bumper bolts down with 4. So that's the back end. Oops, I lost her. There we go. So that's the back end starting to take shape. That's the rear hub pair made, one bearing in the hub. And as I say, as of now, the rear universal drive shafts haven't shown up, which is a shame. So we'll just go with dog bones on the back, which is not an issue. And the next step is to put all this together. Right, and that's that back end with all the arms on. Goes together really well. It feels very precise, which I like, and the arms are free. First time you can kind of turn the diffs and feel it, and also the kind of overall drive. Oh, it's a little bit awkward. But yeah, that's the back. So looking at the manual now, it should be to build the rear shocks. So I'm going to skip that completely. So we've got what I presume are the mudguard brackets to put on, which I will put on for now. Then there's the battery side, and then there's like a cross plate that goes across. So we'll get them on. and we'll do the shocks last, because I want this fully finished with all the electrics, and I want a battery in it before I start looking at the stance of it, because I know I'm probably going to have to put spacers, internal spacers inside the shocks. So we'll do that last job. Right, so this section that I've just done's answered quite a few questions that I had on this chassis. First one being the mudguard brackets. I wasn't sure if the bracket did anything else or it just held a mudguard on. Now, looking at this now, these are just on with 2 bolts, and then there's 2 for the actual mudguard to go on. And the only reason I was curious about that was because I probably wouldn't run it with the mudguards on, and I wasn't sure if these had to stay on and you just took the mudguard off. But obviously I'll be able to leave the mudguard on and undo these 2 bolts to take those off, if that makes sense. Then we've got the 2 battery plates in either side. I've seen people talking about, because you get the brackets for the TD2, so the battery can go that way, but it can't on the TD4 because of the body. I've seen people saying, oh, they're going to change it straight away. Well, you're going to have to change your body if you're going to do that. And the second question that's been answered, obviously, there's been a lot of debate about the steering and will the screws wear out. Well, the front is on a captive nut, and the way that's done is the nut's placed into the chassis in a recess, and there's a little plastic bracket with a screw, so those nuts are holding place now, so it won't wear. Right, we're taking shape nicely now. So looking at the instructions, we're now on to stage 18, which I've got to make the steering servo saver up. So I'll have to go dig out my low profile servo, put some power through it, get it neutralised or zeroed, whatever the wording is. And it looks, sorry, I'm reading the instructions while I'm doing this. Yeah, so the steering servo's to go in next. Right, steering servo in. You have to have a low profile servo for this car, in case you didn't know. Now, I have heard people say that you need the hop up alloy brackets for the servo because it moves. It really doesn't move that much. It has got a little bit of flex, but yeah, I don't really think that's going to be too much of an issue, to be honest. Right, looking at the instructions, it's time to start putting the front end together. Right, so we're up to stage 21, which we've now got the front gearbox cover done. Turnbuckle ends in there with the foam. The pivots are on. There's a pair of ball races in each set, and the front turnbuckles are made. Now I'm just looking at stage 22 now. 22 and 23 is building the front ball diff. Stage 22 is the prop shaft front cup. So it's basically all the front end gearing. So I might as well just build that all now. Right, so that's the 3 pieces of the front gearbox. Obviously we've got the ball diff. It's exactly the same process as the rear. Does take a little bit of time. You really got to take your time on that. And then we've got the prop shaft cup and then the centre gear. So just looking at the instructions now, it's just a case of greasing all that up and getting it in the front gearbox, which you build separately from the car, which is cool. And that's what the front gearbox looks like. It's very different, isn't it? So just looking at the next stage, we basically put the lid on this, bolt it down, attach the turnbuckles, and that bit's kind of complete. And that's the front gearbox finished. Very different. Extremely different from what I'm used to anyway. Very solid, and it feels really smooth. I like it. So, looking at the instructions, we're up on stage 27, which is to build the steering arms up, the steering turnbuckles, and then we bolt all the steering onto this front gearbox, and then the gearbox goes into the chassis with the prop shaft. So that's what the steering looks like, made up of 3 pieces. Now, interestingly, this kit is fully ball raced, which is awesome. So there's actually, there's 6 bearings just in the steering alone, which is pretty cool. So obviously we've got the turnbuckles made up, so now it's just a case of putting all that together onto the front gearbox. Right, that's a big jump. So we had to fit the prop shaft in, and then bolt the front gearbox down, 2 bolts top and bottom. What else is so the steering's in now. If I just turn that over, you get a better view of it. It's obviously underneath, so obviously we've got something to go here. Get rid of that hair, but you get how the steering works. Interestingly, I looked at going the full Tamiya blue alloy bling for the 3 arms, but you don't see it. It's all covered. So and that feels good enough, to be honest. Right, onto the manual. So that's 29 finished. So 30 is, we're going to make a start on the front arms. So that's the front end. Just hinge pins through on the screws, these little screws that keep the rods in. What else is, and then the front bumper goes on with 2 screws just to hold it all together. And then the next stage on step 32 is just bolting this straight onto the car. So that's the front end with the arms bolted down to the chassis now, like that. Let me just there's a lot going on here. So looking at the manual now, you're supposed to stop and build the front shocks. So again, bypassing the shocks until the end. So that takes us, we jump down onto number 36 now, which is to start to build, you know, this, what do you call it, adjustable plate to get the battery in that's gone down like a lead balloon. So yeah, let's start building that. Right, that got all a little bit confusing. So it's this unit here we've put on. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more tricky because I've not put the shocks in, and it's confusing me a little bit. But I've connected it all up. So as you're probably aware, there's 2 bolts down here which are on captive nuts. So there's those 2 pins to pull out, undo those nuts, and then the whole thing slides up. And there's like a 10mm grub screw that fits through here. In fact, shall I just show you very quickly? So that comes out, that comes out. This is the first time I've done it, so just bear with me. There's something in there. Obviously I'm doing this over camera, so I apologise. Come on, get in. Where are you? And then in theory, that just lifts up like that. And I'll say there's like a 10mm grub screw there. So it's a very weird mechanism. So I am getting a little bit confused now with where I'm up to because of the shocks and stuff, but I think my gut feeling's telling me just to carry on. We'll do the shocks last, which means if I put all that back together, then we jump on to section 39, which is doing the little arms that join the lower arms to the pivots. There's a front body mount to go on, and then it looks like we get onto the front hubs, of which I'll have to then dig out the hop up universal front shafts. So yeah, let's get cracking with that. Just quickly, a bit I forgot to do, I missed a stage, and that is to put a little piece of foam for the battery to buff up against, and this foil tape which you pin down your steering servo cable with. So that's pretty cool. Right, let's crack on. Right, next stage we're just making these little arms up, like a 12mm grub screw screwed in, 2 washers, spacers, and then screw the other end on, and then snap them on, and obviously that's how that works. Just quickly, I've not just skipped over this bit, guys, because I'm a Tamiya fanboy. It is not great, but I'll talk about it at the end. But already when I just put it together, I can live with these 2 screws on the nuts, not a problem, and taking this bit off dead easy, but that one there is quite difficult to get the pin back in because it's dark and it's at the bottom and it's very fiddly, so that is not great. But let me crack on with the build. Right, I just had to break off and build the hop up front universal drive shafts because obviously it's sort of pivotal to this bit. Also, if you're not aware, there's some steering, there's a screw and a couple of spacers that are supposed to go into this, which limits the steering. Now, for me, that's completely down to running standard dog bones. I guess they could pop out if you didn't fit those. I don't know, I'm guessing that. A little bit like the TCO one. So obviously because I'm using front unis, I'm leaving those out so I get full steering. Right, so that's the front end complete. everything's working as it should. You can kind of see the steering now. So looking at it now, we're on the manual. We're up to stage 43, which is actually putting the speedo and receiver in, and then it's a driver because there's a little bracket that goes over. But I'm thinking, I'll give you a full thing while I'm babbling on. Really cool chassis. Really like the chassis. The build of it, I mean, it's nice, and it's, sorry for repeating myself, but it's not just the same as a TC1. It's completely different. The only thing that resembles a TC1 is because it's got inbound or inboard front shocks, so the pivots and the way it works. That's the only thing. Anyway, so yeah, what I'm thinking of doing now, I think I'll stick the outer bearings in, put the the tyres on the wheels, and put the wheels on the car, and then we can start. We'll dig out the aeration shocks, and we'll start with the rears because that's a little bit easier, and we can then figure out the ride height of it. Right, I've jumped back on because I'm excited. It looks like a car now. Yeah, I'm really excited. I should have done the shocks as I said, but yeah, so obviously without the shocks you can see you've got a lot of scope for different ride height. I'm probably gonna go front and back, have the arms horizontal with the chassis. I would imagine so. On the back it's about there, so it'll be, I'm doing this with my fingers, it'll be roughly there. Why I did jump back on, because obviously once you put the wheels on and everything, it's the first time you can actually feel the diffs. They are super smooth. Yeah, front diff's just a little bit tighter than the front, and I can't remember if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But they will give, obviously. This is probably not going to work, but yeah, it feels pretty awesome. And then if we have a look at the steering, how much we get. Plenty steering there. Obviously we'll have to set the steering rates once we get it powered up, but yeah, that is coming along now. So what's next? Right, I promise I will do all the shocks off camera. I have got a video building aeration shocks, should you be interested. That's on the channel somewhere, but it's going to be quite time consuming this, so I'll do it all off camera. Right, that took way longer than I anticipated. So we had to change the fixtures and fittings to fit these shocks on. Different shock bottom ends, so it can clip on the ball joint. I had to take the ball ends off that we'd already put on to put screws through, and then the aeration fixings. So that's the rears on. I've got, probably got about 6mm internal spacers in those, which are keeping the arms pretty much flat to the chassis. There's still a lot of clearance, so I've eliminated the droop. I've gone with soft oil. The kit comes with hard, but obviously that's for the CVAs, and the aeration come with soft, so I've gone for soft. Yeah, it feels really good. Feels nice. Obviously got the battery in, so that's at full weight apart from the speedo, but that doesn't weigh anything. But that looks and feels good. And then the fronts, a lot more messing around. Again, I've gone with the same size internal spacers. I took a flyer and it's worked. You can see how they work. Really cool. Really like it. And again, eliminated the droop. They might want, I've adjusted obviously the spring tension, they might want slackening off slightly. I just wanted to give it its full ride height, which we've got. And you can see them working. I don't know if you can see the rears. And then the overall car damps nicely. Look at that. Beautiful. Obviously it's bottoming out at that, so we would, if we were going to do jumps or what have you, we'd need to take the tension up a little bit. But yeah, that's nice. Very nice. And they look cool as well. They look very cool. Wow, this day is getting away from me. What is next? I guess actually it is just to get the speedo in. I need to have a look at this battery. Now I've been messing around with this a lot. This actually isn't as bad as I thought it was initially. Once you know where the hole is, the angle of that for that pin, it is relatively easy. Don't get me wrong, it's not ideal. I'm not saying it is, but it's not as bad as I first thought it was. That's it. I'm loving that. I'm doing my weird thing when I start sniffing tyres and spinning diffs, but yeah, really like that. And again, you know, as I say, clearance, got a ton. Right, I'm debating whether to end this video or carry on, because I've got to get this all edited together and uploaded so you guys can watch it on Saturday morning. I am tempted, you know, because the driver's going to take... Oh, I'm dribbling on. I don't know what I'm doing. Right, I'll see what I'm doing and then I'll come back. Right. To be honest, I really need the body shell now. I'm trying to... The wiring's tight, as you can imagine, and I'm not too sure where wires can go. I've looked at diagrams. The manual's pretty useless for that on the Tamiya pictures, but obviously they're not running brushless. They're just running brushed. So there's two. Well, there's a sensor wire as well, so there's a lot less wires. But it looks like you got some space down this side. But obviously I won't know until we get the body shell on. So I am concerned about this because there's not really another place for it to go. The receiver's down here, nice and tidy, and that wiring's all sort of tucked away nicely. I've stuck the switch to the speedo, and yeah, it all seems fine. Now, a couple of problems. In fact, what I'll do first of all, I'll just show you it working. Right, so if I just turn on, see if I can move this back a little bit. Not ideal, I know. So the steering needs adjusting. Turnbuckles are not quite right, and I've got to do my end points, but there's loads of steering on it. Loads. And throttle. Doesn't seem like it's got that much kick to me. I don't think that kick gearing's particularly spectacular with the standard spare and the 17-tooth pinion. I might be wrong when we get it out, but it's not. Look at my hand, it's not even sort of jarring it back. So yeah, we're working. Now let me just turn off because there is something I want to show you which is not good. So do you remember me saying about this, the steering servo seemed pretty good? Well, there's a lot of slop in the steering, and if I do that, if you just concentrate on this servo here, I hope you can see it. It's the servo that's moving. Now there's bits of slop everywhere, but if that was solid, you would lose quite a bit of that. Look at that. Damn. That's really not good. So that's definitely going to need that alloy hop up. That's quite disappointing, isn't it? And again, once you do put the alloy bits on, how much of that slop's it going to get rid of? A fair bit, actually, looking at it. Right, what is next? I think that's kind of as far as I can go. It's ready to run, but I think we need the shell on. Another disappointing thing is I love the suspension. It's working nicely. The other problem is I've got a Dean's to Tamiya connector, which is taking that extra space up, because I probably haven't got time to solder a Dean's end on and get off. And to be honest, I don't even know if I've got a Dean's end compatible, so I will have to use this while I'm running. I think worst case scenario is we just won't run it with the driver in, because that'll give us all this space here where maybe I can tuck some wires down and what have you. But yeah, pretty cool. And that's enough for me today. I'm knackered. That's taken a while to get it to that stage. I was building obviously I just started a little bit. I'm saying obviously, you've no idea, do you? I started it, I'd done about an hour and a half on it the night before, and then around about 7 a.m. this morning I was on the rear ball diff, and now it's just coming up just after 4 p.m, so it's taken a while. A lot of that, or a chunk of that time, was the aeration small bore dampers. You can't rush building those. They're the quality shock, so you've got to make sure you build them right and shim them correctly. Very important. But if you do that, it really does pay off. The whole suspension on this car now is just silky smooth. So yeah, I'm chuffed to bits. I've built a TD4 at last. The build is awesome. Love it. Now, I am not going to be a Tamiya fanboy. There is some things I'm concerned with. But first of all, overall, it's a really nice kit to put together. It's absolutely nothing like the TC01, and I know because I've just built one. Yeah, it goes together really well. Now, a couple of things to watch for that I found on my build. You can over-tighten stuff very easily, which quite surprised me because this is new, sort of harder plastic, and I'm not talking about putting a lot of forearm into it. So just watch out if you're building one that there's some areas where you can over-tighten very easily. This whole front unit, now I've got a chance to play with it. It's interesting. First of all, we know it's not the best. We know that straight off. And if you were like me, you probably said, yeah, I can live with that. I'm in no rush to change a battery over. But there is one niggly thing for me. So when it's in this position, you pull 2 pins out and then slacken those 2 screws off. It's seconds, that pops up, put your battery in, no problem whatsoever, not a big deal. And then this drops down, tighten it back up onto your floating nuts, no worries. Put this arm across, pin in, jobs are good. And it's this little arm here, it's a pain in the backside because it's underneath and the ball end, obviously it's got a moving ball on in the ball end. So if that moves, you can't get it back on. So you've got to, and obviously you're kind of working here. Maybe I'm being a little bit pedantic and you will get used to it. But if it's not in the right position, you've got to just move that ball and then it slides on. And then you've kind of got to turn the car upside down so you can see where to put the pin. Now the pin doesn't move a position. When you make it, you make it that little L-shaped bracket you make to those positions. So the pins go in the same way every time. But yeah, it's fiddly. It's fiddly at best, to be honest. And then the only other thing is that servo that moves. Now, when I was showing you it early on, I was doing it in reverse, and I was making the servo move by turning the wheels like that. Now, I might be doing it a bit of an injustice doing that because it's all in reverse, and obviously when the car's under power, so it might not be that bad. I don't know, but I think I will probably order that hop up just for peace of mind more than anything. Diffs are beautiful. God, they're really smooth. They feel great. It's got that noise. Sounds like the meshing's not quite right, but it is, and it is the right pinion. This is all kit gearing. But when it's running, it sounds great. So yeah, God, I'll end this video here. Sorry if it's been a long one, but yeah, very, very enjoyable. What I would just say, and obviously I've not run the thing yet, but my thoughts now are, if you're put off by the name, the Avante name, or the mudguards, just don't worry about them, because you get one of these, you've got a chance of building something really cool. Again, we have got to run it. It could fall apart on us, but I very much doubt it. I've seen a lot of these running. So yeah, tomorrow's. So what day is this? This is going out on Saturday. And then so this is confusing. So you're watching this Saturday morning, hopefully, which in my time that's actually Sunday. So I'm actually on with the body shell now. So hopefully you'll get that video Sunday morning, and I'm looking forward to that one. And then also, once we've got the body, we'll better figure out if if anything's in the way, which I'm hoping not. I'm hoping we can just get by, even if we don't have to fit the driver. I'm happy with that for now. So yeah, I will end this video here because I'm tired and I need a big coffee. So RCL, if you're watching, massive thank you to you, my friend. And if this is the first time you've stumbled on one of my videos, if maybe you could give this video a thumbs up. What else do you do? hit that subscribe button, and if you do those two things, hit that notification bell for our weekly video notifications. That would be awesome. And as always, my friends, happy arseeing.